Tips for Sustainable Wealth every Friday 7 p.m. UTC by Fluffy and Alex. Most of us felt that after the collapse of FTX, all would be over in a few days and bright times would come, but this could not be further from the truth. The events unfolding right now in the crypto space can affect me, you, and all of us all together. FTX had many connections to many projects and its dark spider web entangled the crypto space. One by one projects are going bust and we need to pay close attention and be aware of what is going on so we can protect our portfolios. Today, let's unravel what happened, all the dark secrets that are coming to light. Let's hear the thoughts of a billion-dollar altruist and what projects have problems. Drama, betrayal, collapse, politics, and orgies. As new CEO of FTX stepped in, who was the one to oversee the Enron fraud and bankruptcy, he quickly concluded that this case is even worse. We could say that everything began when CoinDesk released a leaked FTX balance sheet, on which the majority of assets were illiquid in FTT tokens, the native cryptocurrency on FTX, and other crypto tokens that included locked tokens as well. After a few days, CZ from Binance announced that they would proceed to selling the rest of their FTT tokens due to recent revelations, which amounted to $500 million. To stop this, Sam, the CEO of FTX at that time, tweeted that this balance sheet doesn't reflect another $10 billion in assets. This sparked fears of FTX and its sister VC and trading company Alameda being more intertwined than previously thought. Caroline, CEO of Alameda, said they would buy the FTT tokens from Binance for $22, which woke the sharks in the water as they smelled blood, and the $22 level was attacked relentlessly until it was broken. Some tried to save the day by saying they don't invest client assets. Just remember the word he used here, as in his thoughts later on we will see what he meant. And he proceeded to tweet that they have an excess cash of $1 billion, which by now the tweet is already deleted. Soon after, withdrawals on the exchange were frozen as a bank run was happening, and Sam proceeded to tweet that assets are backed one-to-one, which was a lie. FTX were in talks with Binance, who had intentions of acquiring FTX, but announcement of bankruptcy came as fast as lightning. Binance, after looking at the inner state of their balance sheet, decided that the hole was too big and they couldn't help. Skipping a few days here, guys, Sam started making some cryptic tweets that no one could understand. Speculation was that he wanted to claim mental health issues or other unknown reasons. As the days passed by, eventually the tweets started to make sense, and as we can see here, it seems he just miscalculated $8 billion, lol. But no one can escape Twitter investigators, hehe. And sooner than later it was found that Sam was deleting all potentially incriminating tweets in a ratio of creating one new tweet to deleting one old tweet, as this technique escape the Twitter bots when you delete on the platform. But let's get a little back, as many accused CZ and wondered why would he proceed like that, announcing publicly his intentions to sell FTT. This actually might be the reason that Binance is now under congressional scrutiny. Even though it might be true that they sold some tokens, they actually stopped after Sam contacted them. Many believe it was done on purpose to hurt competitors or even crypto. But another explanation can be bad blood among them since 2019, as it is likely that Alameda allegedly tried to manipulate futures on Binance. Although this might be where everything started, another beginning could be, as Sam implies himself, at the Terra Luna collapse. We will witness his thoughts later on. There is also a theory that FTX was the one to cause the Luna crash and bankrupt Three Arrows Capital, as Mario Nofal shared a thread of tweets from an insider that wanted to remain anonymous. He stated that this is the truth and that CZ knew about this and tried to talk to Sam but was ignored. And although the tweet was deleted after backlash on the source, Three Arrows Capital actually said that Alameda did hunt their positions during the Luna collapse. They might be saying this to shift the blame on FTX for their failure, but this story has legs. Hear me out. Binance CZ in July of 2022 said that when Voyager Exchange was going bust, as 3AC owed them $100 million to save the situation, FTX Alameda gave $100 million to 3AC, but this didn't save 3AC. Alameda then invests in Voyager and takes a loan of $327 million from Voyager. Make it make sense, guys, please, I don't understand. It was actually a few months later that they struck a deal with Voyager. So, was FTX already insolvent back then? Guys, as you will see later on, big crypto project names having troubles after FTX, listen to CZ when he advises to store your crypto yourselves in your own wallets. And if you want to support the channel and get one of the safest cold crypto wallets, then purchase a ledger by using our affiliate link down below. Everything points towards that it is a good possibility that FTX might have been secretly insolvent since back then. Why, you ask? They tried to invest and help all those projects that were going bust then. Well, the theory goes that they would keep the assets of the bankrupt projects on their platform, or they wanted to purchase entities with large holdings of their own token. But let me go back to Alameda and what was going on behind closed doors. First of all, Alameda had exclusive API key that allowed them to have faster access than any user. Then, after FTX invested in multiple projects in the Serum and Solana ecosystem, which according to sources from inside, much of Serum was operated by full-time official FTX employees and many other Serum ecosystem projects as well. Alameda and FTX could use tokens from those projects as collateral to take leverage. And if you wonder why employees didn't talk, as being reported now, it was a regime of tyranny and no questions asked in the FTX. Through market manipulation, Alameda was pumping those tokens to insane valuations so their balance sheet would look incredible and they could take leverage and do business. And this right here is probably how they managed to ruin it all. As their tokens and collateral were illiquid and prices went down in the bear market, they had to fill some margin calls on their loans, which probably led to the start of using client funds to keep the game going. And to keep the front image of a healthy exchange, they upped their marketing so it looked like they are the best of the best. At the same time though, the craziest part was that FTX should have $1.4 billion in Bitcoin in their reserves, and they had zero. All the Bitcoin was gone and used in this kind of activities. All they had was paper Bitcoin and IOU, nothing, air, fairy dust, which destroyed the DeFi ecosystem on Solana, as wrapped Bitcoin, which is Bitcoin represented on Solana, didn't actually exist. How they did this? This right here, my friends, is basically counterfeiting. And this paper Bitcoin also absorbed buying pressure on FTX, as if you want to buy a Bitcoin but don't withdraw it, so all you got was Bitcoin on paper. You don't reduce the actual supply of Bitcoin and price stays the same, but you think you bought a Bitcoin. How does that sound to you? And as we now know, the corporate funds, basically your funds, were used to buy employee homes, such as this one that Sam has on Bahamas. Now I digress. Back to Alameda. They were inside trading, buying tokens before they were listed on FTX. And most importantly, Alameda had secret exemption from liquidations on FTX. They could see where the stop losses were placed and a lot of other information, and they still managed to lose it all. Gee. Also, Sam had built a software, a backdoor in their accounting program so he could move funds without other employees knowing about it. That's what was happening all this time. So, going back to the moment of the collapse, while withdrawals were frozen, Alameda was still able to siphon funds. Before continuing, if you guys want to watch our previous episode, just click at the suggest video at the right top corner. A few days later, FTX announced that per Bahamian regulation, they have begun to facilitate withdrawals of Bahamian funds. And as soon as this was the case, many traders and investors tried to exploit this loophole by trying to acquire a Bahamian account and withdraw their funds. The crazy part here is that all this was a fat, big lie. No regulations of this kind existed. As soon as this happened, after FTX was facing criminal charges in Bahamas, FTX also didn't pause trading right away, which would lead to wash trading on multiple perpetual pairs. This fiasco was something no one expected. But wait, this is not the end. General Counsel of FTX, after the announcement of bankruptcy, informed everyone that they were in the process of moving funds and tokens to cold storage. And guess what happened in this process? As on-chain investigator Zach wrote on Twitter, something fishy was going on in this process, which actually resulted in a loss of $662 million blamed to activities of a hacker, although Sam himself knows probably who this is, as we will see soon. This hacker proceeded to convert the funds into Ethereum and BUSD, which raises an important question for our Ethereum friends. What if this hacker starts staking those ETH tokens and earning staking reward, and then the US government forces something to be done about this? Well, This is not an easy question to answer, but be aware of this risk. After all this mess, the actual crypto holdings FTX has is $659,000. I'll say that again, $659,000 with a T, $1,000. Some actually said it was worth 5.5 billion, and all the top executives knew about this. This story has a lot more juice that can fill the whole Olympic Stadium and can make a movie series after this, as orgies, parties and political scandal is also a part of it. But just for the Lord of me, please don't release that tape out there. I will pay not to see it. Please guys. If you are one of the more optimistic folks, we can hope that justice will be served. At this point, Sam is under supervision in Bahamas. US is considering extradition to question him, and US House Committee announced a hearing on the FTX collapse. Allegedly, Sam will soon be in US. And in the crossfire of all this, a lot of celebrities and influencers that were promoting FTX already sued. Recently, Sam tried to explain himself giving an interview with Vox. You can draw your own conclusions here, but I thought it was interesting to say at the least the fact he viewed it as a game. Yep, more likely a game of music chairs, I don't know. He says each individual decision seemed fine and that he didn't realize how big their sum was until the end. I mean, if the many things we saw in the previous section are true, this right here is hard to believe, but viewing something as a game might help here, right? A mistake of $8 billion, he says. When does a mistake become a felony or a fraud? The line gets blurry. So as we can see, he never had ill intentions, as he says, but then again, my thoughts are that when CZ started all this process, we can clearly see by the chosen actions and words of Sam that might not be the case. And this is probably how he excuses the lying, as previously we saw he tweeted they never invest, but he never said anything that they didn't lend its customer funds. Talking about some major league bullshit. Then why he deleted the tweets, right? And it wasn't actually lending, it was messier, more complicated. In isolation, he says, every step is cool and fine, but at the end, not so much. Like, how does this work? First step, you open the door, second step, you walk in the room, third step, you the safe, fourth step, you open the safe, and last step, you take the money. Add it all up, then you broke the house and stole the money. Just couldn't do the math for the beginning. Lol. And when did all this start? As it seems, Sam says it all started after the collapse of Terra Luna. We can't know for sure, what would he do differently? Better accounting and off-board Alameda from FTX. Okay. What did Sam regret the most? Filing from bankruptcy. Lol. Yes, exactly. Why? Because he believes he could fix things and raise those $8 billion. And he still is trying to raise that money, he says. So basically, chances to raise the $8 billion are pretty low, guys. And who hacked the $662 million? Either ex-employee or malware on an employee's computer. There you go, guys. Personally, I want to know your opinion. What do you make out of this situation? Will he go to jail or will he walk away? Do you believe him when he says he regrets ruining people's lives? Tell us in the comments below. As FTX is associated with enormous amount of players in this space, we just can't imagine where the next downfall will occur. So you definitely need to stay up to date with all the contagion. As Binance announced the creation of an emergency recovery fund for projects that have been hit from the FTX fiasco, it was evident that a lot of players will go under in the coming weeks or months. Again, I want to remind you to store your crypto on your own wallets, guys. As FTX went downhill, it means Voyager is hanging around. This is where Binance actually stepped in to purchase its assets. The VGX token went up after those news. BlockFi is preparing for bankruptcy as it was supposed to be saved by FTX after Terra Luna collapsed. Just recently, Genesis Global paused withdrawals from its platform. Genesis was the one to actually lend $2.4 billion to Three Arrows Capital. If you guys want to know what happened with Three Arrows, Celsius and Terra Luna, you can watch our previous episode. And the situation with Genesis isn't pretty at all. It was one of the biggest lenders in the crypto space. Every centralized finance platform uses Genesis to generate yield. For example, Gemini Earn was one such platform, and at this moment it has paused withdrawals as well. Genesis Trading had $8.4 billion in loan originations in Q3. So basically every platform like Gemini Earn, BlockFi or similar gave crypto to Genesis to generate yield, and now all those platforms can't get their crypto back. On the positive side, Binance is interested in buying Genesis loan book, which might save the situation. And as far as Gemini is concerned, it had its services down and many suspected that it was going under. The truth was that they experienced an Amazon Web Services EBS outage according to Gemini. At this point they are back up and claim to have client assets backed one by one, and that you can withdraw in time. Personally, I wouldn't risk it even if it's true, just saying. On another hand, Genesis has ties to Grayscale, and Grayscale is well known in the space. It's a fund that has around $11 billion in Bitcoin. Grayscale claims that even if its sister company Genesis goes bust, they have no problems. As we saw a few days ago, Crypto.com was the latest victim of a bank run, but it seems that they survived for now. Maybe the claims the CEO made about having assets one-to-one is true. In 2020, Circle and Genesis team were going to develop yield and lending products for USD coin, and it seems Circle does have $247 million exposure to unknown debtors. What part of that money is exposure to Genesis? We didn't know, but there probably was an exposure. Big glad that Circle actually replied to those worries and said that the exposure is $2.6 million and that money is protected by robust collateral agreements. Should be all good here. Coinbase also commented that they have no exposure to Genesis, although they didn't have to, and that fact, combined with the CEO of Coinbase selling $1.6 million of Coinbase share shortly after another wave of layoffs, sparked some speculation and criticism. From a well-known critic of crypto and Bitcoin, Nassim wrote that selling those shares signals loss of confidence in the company, even if it is a small amount, as Brian has billions in Coinbase shares. To tell you the truth, Brian, the CEO, had announced back in October that he intends to sell 2% of his Coinbase holdings because he wanted to fund scientific research, which explains the selling. But critics didn't stop there and suggest why would he invest in other technologies if he believed that crypto and Coinbase was the future. I think that's a bit stretching, but who knows. Binance and OKX suspend deposits and withdrawals of USDC and USDT that exist on Solana. Solana doesn't look good, guys. Crypto bank Silvergate didn't pump and questions about exposure in FTX came to the surface. Singapore's Temasek writes down its $275 million of investment. Chainalysis is among a long list of FTX creditors, which means it might have problems. Crypto hedge fund Ikigai has been caught in the FTX collapse and has assets stuck on the exchange. Liquid Global, an exchange owned by FTX, halts withdrawals, and Australia-based crypto exchange Digital Search suspends withdrawals and deposits, citing limited exposure to FTX. And as always, fire dance continues to spiral out of control. Investors can only hope we survive another day to witness the stories that will be portrayed by famous actors in the future on those big cinema screens. Stay safe, guys. Stack up some popcorn. Get your crypto off exchanges, and good luck to us all. That's it for today. If you like the episode and want to support us, then please like, press the subscribe button, click notifications on, and share the content. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye bye till next time.